Season 3 may have ended, but the best season of ReZero has just been announced. Season 4 is confirmed. Subaru's wearing a brand new outfit, Emilia just got even hotter, and they both just pulled up to a bar and ordered fucking milk. I need to stop talking about it because I plan on posting a Season 4 video in a couple days talking about why you should be more excited for Season 4 than all of the previous seasons combined. Subscribe so you don't miss that, but for now, let's talk about this final episode of Season 3. Julius just got the REM treatment. Or, my bad, I guess now I should use the Spanish pronunciation. Julius. That's right, just like Otto's shins, his name got deleted. And I loved the contrast of the goofy, happy soundtrack playing while Subaru slowly realizes the horror of what just happened though. He's been through this shit before, so the question is, will he try to save Julius? When Rem got her name eaten, Subaru immediately used Return by Death to try to save her, but would he do the same for Julius? And at this point, is that even possible? Last time he died, his save point was only a couple minutes before his death, so it's possible he can't save Julius even if he wants to. Although, it's not like Julius is dead though, right? He's even still conscious and walking around, as opposed to Rem who's in a coma. Remember, that's because both Rem's name and her memories were eaten, while Julius still appears to have his memories, so only his name was eaten. And that's, honestly, not the worst outcome. We killed an Archbishop and captured another, so I'd consider that a fair trade for Julius losing his name and his brother, Joshua. But anyway, Beatrice had no mana left, so to cast all these basic yin magic spells, she had to sacrifice these extremely valuable mana crystals, which were the entire reason we even came to Priestella in the first place. Remember, these crystals were supposed to help us bring Puck back, but instead, Beatrice wasted them to cast a couple low-level spells. It's the equivalent of fueling up a private jet just to fly across the street. So Beatrice is basically Taylor Swift. My mistake. Sirius is Taylor Swift. I loved how Beatrice smiles though when she finally gets to use this weapon, which by the way was created by Best Girl, and there is a bit of cut content to talk about here. Beatrice was supposed to explain a little bit more about the lore of this weapon. It's called the Star Staff because it shoots a powerful beam of star magic, which doesn't exist anymore. Not even Rosbal can cast it because Echidna didn't share that knowledge with anyone. But the beam isn't just a beam. It's also like a magic missile that chases you forever until it hits you. But the original purpose of the staff was to annoy a certain dragon, and according to Rosbal, it almost brought the dragon to tears. Assuming that they're talking about the divine dragon Volcanica, it's interesting that such a powerful weapon was intended only to annoy him. That could be an indicator for how strong Volcanica is. I mean, imagine if JFK just got annoyed instead of assassinated, like all the CIA did was get on his nerves. The real conspiracy though is if all Echidna wanted to do was annoy Volcanica rather than actually harm him, then how come Echidna's apprentice, Roswal, wants to kill the dragon? I don't have time right now to go down that rabbit hole, but speaking of rabbits and holes, Rui Arneb is the third Archbishop of Gluttony, representing the rabbit-shaped constellation. And she has the same voice actress as Chika from Kaguya-sama, and of course, Anyway, one of my favorite plot points is how Gluttony accidentally defeated himself by trying to eat Felt, whose real name is obviously not Felt. Of all the countless mysteries in ReZero, Felt's identity is probably the most obvious. Shortly before the anime, the entire Lugunuka family was wiped out by a disease, except for a princess who was kidnapped. And ever since season 1 when Felt picked up the insignia, we all knew that the princess was probably her. Which means we technically shouldn't even be having an election because Felt is literally the rightful heir to the Iron Throne. The only other person with a legitimate claim would be, I guess, Capella, who I'd probably vote for. That's how I determine politics. It's just a matter of who would I rather smash. 2020 was a tough decision. Holy shit though, the gore this episode went crazy. Otto's legs got fucking obliterated. Apparently the gluttonies can swap in for each other, which we saw after Lai was defeated, which by the way, I think it's kinda bullshit that he even still existed after being hit by the Star Staff. In my opinion, he should have looked like Theresia after that, but regardless, his sister Rui swaps in to replace him, and before showing her true form, she uses the body of this JoJo fan, who I'm assuming used to be a real person that was eaten by the gluttonies, and his speech appears to alter between the personalities of the other gluttonies. Like, Roy is usually the one who says a word and then repeats a bunch of synonyms for it, and then during his transformation into Rui, we actually got a peek at the Well, I can't say the name of what this is yet, but it's a big deal for us novel readers. Rui also mentions that Roy does whatever that woman says, and she's talking about Capella here. For some reason, Roy, as well as Elsa and Meili, used to refer to Capella as mother. I wish I had more about that to tell you, but that's all I know. Anyway, the city is safe, and I guess I'll mention this cut content. I don't remember exactly how this went, but I'm pretty sure Subaru was carrying Beatrice over his shoulder here, and he says, "Hey, this position makes it easy to spank her." And then he starts spanking Biako's ass while laughing hysterically. And they better fucking adapt that shit next episode, or else Luigi might strike again. Just kidding. Another funny scene was when Mimi stomps on Garfield's injured body, claiming that Anastasia told her to dominate men. Like, what? What the fuck are you teaching this child, Anastasia? Show me. Do it to me. Anyway, Sirius has been captured, and she seems to think Betelgeuse is inside of Subaru, and she warns him about the 3 gluttonies. You would think they'd be working together because they're in the same cult, but no. Sirius doesn't want Gluttony to eat Subaru because she thinks that that would erase Betelgeuse too, who's apparently inside of him. Sirius's terrible singing is pretty fitting for her character, but it also reminded me, I think someone asked the author if Amelia was a good singer, and he said no, Amelia's tone deaf. So maybe this is even more evidence that Sirius is Fortuna, but either way, that shit was fire. Like the video if you think Sirius should sing the new opening. I think we got some Ricardo fans outside. Al just called Beatrice Biako, which is a nickname only Subaru uses, and I don't know if Al overheard Subaru calling her that at some point, or if it's just another similarity supporting the Al is Subaru theory. I don't know, but regardless, Al was involved in practically every fight this season. He woke up Beatrice and gave her the mana crystals she needed to fight. He contacted Amelia and gave us her location. He told us how to avoid being eaten by Gluttony. He flooded the city and killed the Council of 10, and then he even somehow survived a fight with Capella. Without Al, the witch cult would have won the Battle of Priestella. Reinhardt played a big role, but Al was the MVP. The only part I'm confused about is why did he oppose Subaru making that speech? The speech inspired people and restored their hope in the city, so why was Al against it? Just something to think about. Now, as for the cut content in this episode, a lot of it I'm not going to talk about yet because it's mainly build up for the next arc that will obviously be adapted in the first episode of season 4, but there is one scene I don't expect to be adapted next season, and it's a conversation between Subaru and Wilhelm. My reasoning is that Wilhelm is not a season 4 character, so if they were going to adapt this scene, it probably would have happened in season 3, but if I'm wrong and they do adapt this next episode, my bad. Basically, Subaru asked about his wife, and Wilhelm's like, yeah, I finally said I loved her, got some closure, etc. And then at the end of the conversation, Wilhelm has something to ask or say to Subaru, but stops and doesn't allow himself to say the words. And as he walks away, he whispers only to himself, "Sir Subaru, if you would, please, and then cuts himself off from saying the rest, because the unspoken words were something that no one should hear. And with that, the chapter ends. Now, my interpretation is that Wilhelm wanted Subaru to be his son. He basically just disowned his grandson Reinhardt, and Heinkel is probably the worst excuse of a son imaginable, while Subaru is pretty much the perfect son Wilhelm always wanted. So I think he wanted to vocalize that. Of course, I could be wrong. Wilhelm could have wanted Subaru to peg him or some shit. The author left it ambiguous intentionally, so please drop a comment if you had a different interpretation. You might get roasted though. Last week's dumbass comment award goes to Evil Beauty because they attacked ReZero for using Reinhardt as a plot device, even though it's been 3 seasons and he's only killed 2 people. They also aggressively misinterpreted the Blessing of the Sword Saint, and with absolute confidence they stated that Theresia was just as strong as Reinhardt, so I tried to clear it up by saying Theresia only had 2 blessings while Reinhardt has literally thousands, but they didn't even read my response and just continued doing their best Regulus impression, claiming with the utmost certainty that Theresia had the Blessing of the Phoenix, and at that point I thought it was rage bait, so I didn't reply. But just to clarify for anyone else who's confused, the Blessing of the Sword Saint does not make you Reinhardt. All it does is grant your swordsmanship a tremendous buff and allows you to see invisible lines that shows you where to swing. That's it. Reinhardt is a uniquely powerful character who could clap his ancestors even if they all attacked him at the same time. And guys, obviously this person was just having a bad day, and we don't want to make that worse for him and potentially endanger everyone he goes to school with, so please don't attack him if he comments again. Finally, before I go, I want to give some overall thoughts on ReZero's Season 3. This season was fucking incredible, and for me the highlight was definitely the art and animation. After Season 2, I'll be honest, I was kind of a doomer. I had extremely low expectations for such an animation-dependent arc like this one, but they actually pulled it off and gave us even better animation than the first season, which is insane. The best episode was, it's really close guys, it's basically a tie between episode 10 and episode 5, but episode 12 and 13 are both up there too, episode 15 as well, and even episode 2 is at least in the conversation. The best individual scene was obviously Vincent Chancellor's insane animation that you had to watch in 0.5 speed just to see what was happening, but other than that, I'd say Capella's introduction. Capella was easily the best character, she got most of the budget, and it honestly made me jealous that Echidna didn't get the same treatment in her season, but I'm glad Capella got an even better adaptation than she deserved. And that's a common sentiment I felt throughout the season, really. A lot of ReZero Season 3 was better than the source material. Not all of it, but I would say overall they definitely did it justice. I don't know if I'm ready to compare it to the 2 previous seasons yet. I might do that in the next video, but yeah, I'm really happy with Season 3, guys. Subscribe now because in a couple days I'll post another video talking about Season 4 and why it'll probably be the best, most perfect season of ReZero ever. Thanks everyone for watching these videos every week. Keep talking about ReZero. I'm out for now. Peace.